are going to start with this. We're going to start from here in this ESPN article and go from there. We're starting in the middle of this article. It starts with accusations of cheating in the world of chess are as old as the game itself. Early in the 11th century, King Canute of the North Sea Empire apparently ordered the killing of a Danish nobleman over a disagreement involving cheating at a chess-like game. Wow, no, that's pretty out there. Pretty out there for sure. Not something that I'm aware of. King Canute. Wait, King Canute. So all you have to do is change K-N-U-T into C-A-N-U-T. So King Canute, similar to the classic streamer, was apparently playing chess all those years ago. All right. In southern India at the turn of the 16th century, the famous court jester Tenali Rama, who worked under the rule of King Krishna, one second. King Krishna Devaraya often played chess against the king. On one occasion, as legend has it, when the king dozed off between moves, Rama repeatedly yelled out that he won until the king woke up and conceded defeat. Okay, pretty out there, to put it mildly. Pretty out there. Okay. Cheating allegations in chess had made their way to American soil by 1880, when American Preston Ware and James Grundy were accused of collusion and bribery during a tournament at the 5th American Chess Conference. Wow, this is pretty wild, actually. I have to say, like, I was completely unaware of this. Until recently, the main form of cheating was through collusion. That meant players, usually from the same country, agreed to lose or draw games to help their teammate in tournaments. During the Cold War, Soviet players were accused of colluding in tournaments by drawing games against each other so that they could focus their energy and preparation on games when they played against non-countrymen. The most famous accusation happened in the 1962 Canada's tournament, when American Bobby Fischer, widely considered the best player to ever play the game, accused the Soviet players, who finished by drawing every match they played against each other. Yep. Nice. The cheating allegations took a bizarre turn at the 1978 World Chess Championship between Soviet Anatoly Karpov and his challenger Viktor Korchnoi, who fled the Soviet Union in 1976. Korchnoi accused a member of Karpov's team of staring at him continuously, trying to hypnotize him. He even wore dark sunglasses to his games, irking Karpov. Then, during one of the games, Karpov's team sent him a cup of yogurt right before his move. Korchnoi complained that Karpov's team was sending him signals. The accusations got so severe, the players refused to speak to each other during the games. The 1990s and early 2000s saw a sudden proliferation of artificial intelligence, such as Fritz, a chess program for Pocket PC, a handheld, and Deep Blue, a chess supercomputer, the first one to beat a reigning world champion when Garry Kasparov played against it and lost in 1997. The earliest case of cheating in chess involved artificial intelligence was at the 1993 World Cup. A player was found with a device in his pocket that buzzed during certain points in his matches. He was disqualified. Wait, now I had no idea. I have never heard this. Wow. This is wild. I had no idea, actually. This is insane. No clue. I have no clue who this even is, honestly. This is wild. Okay. At the 1998 Böblingen Open in Germany, 55-year-old Clemens Alwerman from Germany came out of nowhere to beat some of the best grandmasters and win the tournament. Immediately after, cheating accusations piled up against him. Was a pocket Deep Blue used for brain doping? One newspaper asked. Most of his moves resembled the moves Fritz would have made, so did he use Fritz? How could he have? Then the speculation began. It was warm inside the tournament venue, but Al Werman always wore a suit and tie. Very similar to our good friend DB Cooper. Did he have a tiny camera attached to his blazer and an earpiece that was covered up by his long hair? Did the camera send signals of the moves to somebody on the outside, who then relayed what his next move should be via the earpiece? Upon investigation, no unfair play was detected, but the Bavarian Chess Federation still banned him from future tournaments. Wow, this is I have never heard of any of these things, actually. But to put it in context, just so you guys, I think a lot of people don't realize this, because I mean, even I wasn't actually around, but I've heard these sorts of stories from people who were around before my time. But in the late 1980s into the early 1990s, and in random open chess tournaments, computers were allowed to play. just so you guys know. They were not better than humans. So sort of as the testing ground, computers were allowed to play like in the World Open against the best human players. Now the humans did not have to play against the computer. You could opt out of that, but they were allowed to play because they were not clearly better than the humans at that time. So that is one little nugget that I want to add for everybody to be aware of, because most people have no clue that there ever was such a time in chess. All right, the case is only multiplied from there. At the 2006 World Championship between champion Veselin Topalov and Vladimir Kramnik, Topalov and his camp accused Kramnik and his team of planting an electronic device in the bathroom Kramnik used quite frequently during the match. Kramnik wound up forfeiting a game after organizers eliminated his access to the bathroom in question, but he wound up winning the championship in a tiebreaker. At the 2010 FIDE Olympiad, 3 French players were caught cheating in tandem. One player watched the match at home, plugging in the moves into a computer program. Then he sent the next move via SMS message to the French coach, who signaled the proper move to the French player. They were suspended by the FIDE Fair Play Commissions for 1 to 3 years. Now, one other thing that I want to add in this, which is very interesting to note, is let me find Wikipedia. There was one thing I wanted to point out, because I saw this in the Wikipedia article about one of the players who was captured, which was Sebastian Feller. Now, it was interesting that the final paragraph on the Wikipedia page says on 28th May 2019, the Correctional Tribune of Thionville, if I'm being American, in France, sentenced Sebastian Feller to a suspended sentence of 6 months in prison because he cheated at the 39th Chess Olympiad. According to the tribunal, his behavior amounted to the crime of escroquerie, also known as fraud. So basically, Sebastian Feller, who they're talking about at the 2010 FIDE Olympiad, the French player, he was basically sentenced to 6 months in jail for cheating in a chess tournament. So that's in the final paragraph on the Wikipedia page about him, which is pretty insane. Like for cheating, he was like, they considered it that serious in France. That's fair. I mean, well, okay, but like I said, I was kind of shocked when I read that the other day, because it really, like, I was surprised to see that they consider it an actual, like, a serious crime. So okay, in 2018, a visually impaired player, Stein Tholo Bjornsson, received a lifetime ban from the Norwegian Chess Federation after being caught with an earplug in the palm of his hand during a game against a 9-year-old girl. And that paved the way for a series of players to be implicated in Toiletgate, the practice of hiding a cell phone, usually outfitted with chess software or perhaps simply open for tips via text near a toilet. In July 2019, Latvian Czech player Igor Zrauzis was caught using a cell phone in the bathroom. But none of these scandals prepared the chess world for what it would encounter during the COVID-19 pandemic. All right. In April 2020, Chess.com reported to Forbes that it gained 1.5 million new users that month, compared to 670,000 in January before the pandemic set in. With in-person competition impossible, rising players and elite players clung to the one way they could still play the game they loved: online. There was a steep proliferation of chess games played online with little to no supervision at a time when advanced artificial intelligence could give players every single move in every single chess game ever played right at their fingertips. The result: cheating chaos. To be sure, online chess and online chess cheating existed long before the pandemic. Chess.com booted accounts suspected of cheaters every day before COVID-19, including Niemann twice. The difference between now and then is the stakes. Before the pandemic, online chess was mainly a playground for new and emerging players. The serious business was still being conducted over the board, but the pandemic drove elite players online, and with them, the money moved as well. As early as May of 2020, top US Grandmaster and world number 2 Fabiano Caruana talked extensively about how the opportunity to cheat in online chess is exponentially higher. In online chess, if a player is not on camera, if they're not being monitored in any way, and there's a lot of money on the line, there are players who are tempted to cheat, Caruana told Forbes. For very large tournaments, I don't know if there's a solution for it, because you can't have 1,000 people on camera. Says Grandmaster Levon Aronian, one day people think you're untalented and a loser, and suddenly you're a champion and a genius, so it's really tempting to want that level of fame and money, especially if you can do it without getting caught. Recognizing the environment was vulnerable, FIDE, Chess.com, and other websites scrambled to set new rules. In some cases, players had to sit directly in front of a camera for the duration of the game and couldn't even leave to go to the bathroom until the game was finished. In others, they couldn't look away from the camera, which could potentially mean they're looking at other devices. In addition to the physical restrictions, organizers came up with an algorithm that detected cheating based on the quality of a player's move. Alex Kolovich, FIDE's Fair Play Commission counselor, told ESPN that the assumed cheating metric for online play was lowered from the over-the-board number. Interesting. Very interesting. So basically for online, they lowered the threshold versus over the board, which to me I think makes more sense objectively, because like if you look at the numbers, I don't know what the stats are on the people who've cheated online versus over the board, it's probably like it's at least like I would bet like 5x online versus over the board, so it makes some sense. In over the board chess, if the probability of cheating is 1 in 3.5 million, officials consider it suspect. The number is slashed to 1 in 100,000 in online chess, according to Kolovich. Okay. By August 2020, chess.com had blocked 400,000 accounts for cheating, including 500 titled players. Very sobering. But for every example of a player being caught, it is likely that many more went undetected. You basically feel like you're 1 or 2 steps behind, says Kolovich, who is himself a grandmaster. Adds 21-year-old American grandmaster Jeffrey Zhang. The biggest thing stopping somebody from cheating online is really their own conscience, because honestly there are so many methods nowadays, and it's incredibly difficult to tell, is this person using a computer or is he just playing really well? To be clear, there's a big difference between a computer and a human just playing really well. Stockfish, the most advanced computer engine, has an ELO score, the official measure of a chess player's skill, of 3,500. In comparison, the highest human score ever recorded is Carlsen's very puny 2882 in 2014. No human has exceeded 3,000 in the ELO rankings. In online chess, a hint from Stockfish is just a click away. The worst part of this, says Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, who has been a mainstay in the commentator's booth for chess tournaments for many years, is that cheating by a few creates an environment of paranoia for the rest of the players. Very true. Where does it say very puny? I'm making a joke, obviously, you guys. I'm making a joke. Yeah, the ad lib. Yeah, it's like somebody in the chat is like, where does it say very puny? Okay. The reality is, any young chess prodigy, you take Magnus Carlsen for example, they grow really fast, they get good really quickly, they can soak up so much information. They go from being a simple master player to an absolute chess gangster inside 1 or 2 years. Ashley says, are we going to suspect every last one of them now when we just thought they were geniuses before? Now again, like the one thing that I don't particularly understand when people bring up these topics about cheating is that at the end of the day, I have not heard a single rumor about any other like junior who's had a quick rise, period. I've literally never heard, like in terms of over the board chess, about any junior who's had a big rise and people thinking that they've cheated. I've heard from literally nobody. So that's the one thing that I don't understand, is like this notion that suddenly we're going to suspect everybody else just because of what has happened in the last month to month and a half. It's not the realistic picture, because nobody is being suspected here except for one player. All right. Up until recently, Niemann fell into that category. Up until recently, Niemann fell into that category. Born in San Francisco in 2003, Niemann went to school in Laguna Beach, California, before moving to the Netherlands when he was 7. He started playing chess when he was 8, before moving back to the United States and attending Weston High School in Connecticut and Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School in New York. He became a FIDE Grandmaster at age 17 in April 2021. He won the World Open in Philadelphia, crossed the 2600 ELO rating, and became the US Junior Chess Champion in July 2021, when he achieved his highest world ranking of number 45. The Chess.com report published Tuesday called Niemann the fastest rising top player in classical over-the-board chess in modern recorded history, much later in life than his peers. Niemann is an avid Twitch chess streamer and has said that he has lived out of suitcase and traveled throughout Europe the past 2 years, dedicating his life to over-the-board chess. Once COVID-19 vaccinations were rolled out and restrictions were eased, more top players began gathering in person for over-the-board chess tournaments again, first tentatively by the end of 2020 and more consistently once the vaccines were administered in spring of 2021. And that brings us to, drumroll, anal beads. Anal beads, of course. And over the board chess with more security measures in place, cheaters need to get creative. So technically, could a person use anal beads during a game? A Reddit user seems to have pushed the theory. Could those anal beads aid with cheating? The jury is still out. Even if the beads are connected to a computer that is following the match in real time and sending the next move in Morse code, there is no proof that a person would be able to decipher the vibrations and apply them to their next move. We live in a social media age that's hungry for sensationalism. The greatest conspiracy theories get blown out of proportion, Ashley says. Chess is the flavor of the moment, and we are getting attention in a way we would never like to have. Now, once again, this is true, but the sensationalism is specifically because Elon Musk retweeted that tweet about the chess bra clip and anal beads. If it had not been for Elon Musk, chess would not be where we are today. So we do have to give a lot of credit to Elon because he really blew everything up, and now chess is just out there in the media. So big shout out to the richest man in the world. All right, conspiracy theories aside, one thing is clear. Cheating using artificial intelligence is a threat to over-the-board and online chess. Maybe if the online and over-the-board worlds had never collided, maybe if the online game had never become as high stakes as it did during the pandemic, and maybe if Carlsen had never had to face Niemann, none of this would have snowballed, and maybe Niemann's past cheating would have stayed in the past. But online chess did become high stakes, cheating did proliferate in that environment, and the future does involve a hybrid competing situation. The internet made chess more popular. It made chess accessible, but is technology the thing that elevated the sport also the thing that's going to undermine it? Very, very important question here. Very, very important question. Also, you could say yes, if only Rapport had not dropped out. That's also another part. Or yeah, if he had been able to play, it could have been completely different. All right, we will get to the US Championship a little bit later on, you guys. 3 years before Jeffrey Zhang was born in 2000, chess was forever altered. In 1997, reigning world champion Garry Kasparov, who declined ESPN's interview request, took on a machine, Deep Blue, for the second time in 2 years. He played the supercomputer in 1996 and won. Then they had a rematch. It did not go well for Kasparov, who lost 2 games to Deep Blue, won 1 and drew 3 times. It should be noted that Kasparov accused Deep Blue and IBM of cheating, ironically saying that he believed humans helped Deep Blue win. Now, this, of course, is true. What Gary basically accused them of doing was he accused them of like changing the lines that were in the memory and things of that nature. So it is kind of funny. But how did Deep Blue actually pull it off? Turns out it took more than just data. Kasparov was the king of getting into his opponent's heads, according to Hello World by Anna Fry. Oftentimes when his opponents had their hands on their heads, breaking their brains and trying to come up with a winnable solution, Kasparov, appearing bored, would pick up his watch from the table and put it on, as though indicating his opponents were boring him, that they should resign. When IBM developed Deep Blue, one of its genius tactical moves was to have Deep Blue get in Kasparov's head. It made Deep Blue appear more uncertain about its moves than it actually was. After calculating and knowing the exact move, Deep Blue idled for minutes, making Kasparov think that it needed more time than it actually did to figure out its next move. Now, this I was unaware of, that it actually had the solution, and they would wait a couple minutes before making the move. That's pretty wild. That's really, really wild. It made Kasparov it made Kasparov believe that he had confused its program. Kasparov spent a lot of time in those games trying to figure out how advanced the machine was. He appeared distracted and in some instances horrified. Later, after the loss, he said in an interview, Deep Blue played like a god for one moment, and added, I became so concerned with what it might be capable of that I was oblivious to how my problems were more due to how badly I was playing than how well it was playing. Okay. A deeply unsettling feeling settled over the chess community. Machines were now superior to humans. So when Zhang started playing chess as a kid, he accepted that he could never beat a machine. Since then, it was clear that AI was simply stronger than humans, and as time passed, the gap just kept getting bigger and bigger, Zhang says. Now everybody understands that you have to rely on them to guide you because they'll tell you the best move in any certain position. All around him, he noticed his peers working with AI to learn their opening moves. Zhang took his time with it. Until he turned 15, his coach, a Soviet-era chess player, wanted him to get a taste of what chess looked like before computers started telling human beings how to play. So he studied the games of famous players like Fischer and Kasparov, and when he began competing, he says he could tell the difference between when an opponent chose a move a computer would have chosen and waited when they made a move that was creative, something they came up with on their own. He began using a combination of both his games, his own creativity, blended with what he studied from a supercomputer. If Fischer watched him play, he would think that Zhang was a product of the 21st century supercomputer. If a 14-year-old future grandmaster watched him play, he would think Zhang was old school. It is all relative. I've never seen something this huge, this dramatic, and it is a scary time, Zhang says, because I feel like a chess player's worst fear is going to the board and having to worry. Who am I playing against? Am I playing a human or am I playing something else? Artificial intelligence has dramatically changed how every sport functions, but for whatever competitive advantage it might provide, says the Kansas City Chiefs in devising a game plan, it can't transform a practice squad QB into Patrick Mahomes. But AI can transform a marginal chess player into a grandmaster. All players need to do once the AI speaks is pick up a piece and move it. No exceptional physical or mental skills are required. This is 100% true from the standpoint that Patrick Mahomes is a quarterback in the National Football League. He is one of the top 3 quarterbacks, I think, in the league. But if you have the guy on the backup practice squad, they cannot suddenly throw the ball in a tight spiral 60 yards and become the next Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. That is 100% true. Top one, I mean, I don't know if that's actually correct, but that's a debate for a different time. Okay, since the accusations against Niemann, 2 old ideas to cope with the AI intrusion have gained a foothold. After losing to Deep Blue, Kasparov proposed an idea to join forces with computers. Kasparov suggested that a grandmaster should team up with a supercomputer to play another grandmaster who is the same supercomputer. That idea never took off 25 years ago, but today that idea in some variation has been top of mind for some grandmasters. Now this is not 100% accurate because there were a couple events in Leon in Spain, I believe in the early 2000s, when players like Vishy Anand and Anatoly Karpov, they did actually play what we call advanced chess. So there have been some events, but it is true that it never truly it never went anywhere. All right, man, this article is long. Okay, okay, where were we? Okay, if that were to become a reality, then cheating would no longer be a problem in chess. Oh, AI, I told you what to do? Great. But that also essentially would mean that the game as we know it would be dead. Anybody with a supercomputer can be a grandmaster. There would be no need to perfect openings to prepare your body physically and mentally for an 8+ hour competition day in and day out. Everything that motivated chess players to wake up every morning for a chance to sit across from the best in the world and have an opportunity to beat them human to human would be gone. It may end up being the case, Ashley says. I really hope that day doesn't come. Very sobering. There are grandmasters and organizers who are more optimistic. We're better than that, says 40-year-old Armenian grandmaster Levon Aronian, who sees the game evolving in a different way. Titled Fischer Random Chess after its inventor Bobby Fischer, or titled Fischer Chess after its inventor Bobby Fischer. This variation uses the same board and pieces, and the only difference is that the starting point of each of the pieces is randomized before every game. Coupled with strict broadcasting delay rules, it would be nearly impossible for electronic devices to know where the pieces are located on the board. But however the game evolves from this point on, the grandmasters who spoke to ESPN agree on one thing. Carlsen versus Niemann might just have provided the wake-up call chess needs. My hope is that we're going to find some really advanced security measures that give people who are thinking about cheating the impression that you're not going to be able to get away with this, and if you try, you're likely to get caught, and that's going to be the end for you, Zhang says. At the end of the day, sitting in front of a human being, knowing they're flawed and can be taken down, even if they're the best in the world, is what drove King Canute to order his opponent's killing, is what drove Fischer, and is what motivated 9-year-old Tani Adewumi to stay up after bedtime to keep practicing his moves. All the young players have tremendous respect for chess, Zhang says. We've all studied the legends in the past, all their games very carefully, and learned a lot from them, and also took what we learned from AI. That's how you become a great player. Or as Aronian puts it, anybody can use a machine to play music, but it's human beings who give music its soul. All right. Let's see, how much more is there? This is a very, very long article, like I said. Okay, so let's keep going. Hans Niemann smirks as he glances at Christian Chirilla, a grandmaster and commentator at the US Chess Championship. He is in a drastically different mood than when he walked into the St. Louis Chess Club 5 hours earlier. Chess speaks for itself, y'all. That's all I can say, he says. It is minutes after his first round victory against 15-year-old Christopher Yu. Just like at the Sinkfield Cup against Carlsen, Niemann won with the black pieces. He skirted reporters waiting to talk to him before spending 30-some seconds in the booth broadcast. I think this game is a message to everyone, Niemann says. The entire thing started with me saying chess speaks for itself, and I think this game spoke for itself and showed the chess player I am, and it also showed that I'm not going to back down and I'm going to play my best chess here, regardless of the pressure that I am under. When Chirilla tries to move on to dissecting the game, Niemann abruptly stands up and says he is not interested in talking about the game or anything else. It was such a beautiful game, I don't even need to describe it, he says, and leaves. The game didn't seem as beautiful to you. I was actually a little bit annoyed that he was in this tournament, he says. Not because I was thinking he was going to do anything, but because of his suspicious past. To put it in perspective, Niemann is seated 8th in the tournament and Yu is number 12, but the intense media attention made Yu feel like the match had a lot more weight. Yu, who previously chatted with Niemann during tournaments, says it would be weird to talk to Niemann now. We're not friends in any way, Yu says. Okay. I do think he should be held more accountable. I do think they really need to take more action on his past actions and take even more of a look into every single game. Niemann has 12 more matches to go, and he will have to upset some giants like Wesley So and Fabiano Caruana for a chance at the $60,000 first place prize, for a chance to show that his win over Carlsen was neither fluke nor fraud. One thing is certain, the chess world will be watching. Its future is at stake. Very good article. It really gets in depth about like all the cheating and things like that. I mean, really good article. Obviously it's a very long one, but I'm kind of shocked by the research they did on this topic. Also, I will say that, and you look towards the bottom of this article, like it's clear. I said this before, but I'll say it again. That first game that was played between Hans Niemann and Christopher Yu did not play his normal game. He played this London system that Hans himself had played a lot. It was very much outside of what I felt his style is. And every game since then, he's come back and he's played really well. He's played in his style. I'm a big fan of what I've seen out of Christopher Yu. So it does show that affected him without a doubt in the first round game. At any rate, that was the first article.